That's a good housekeeping item to please silence your phones. All right, we're live.
All right. I call the meeting to order. Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. We're all here. Doug?
Doug requested an excused absence.
Okay. Otherwise, the rest of us are here. Okay, we have public comment, and we don't have a sign-up sheet, but I will call on you, and we still have the same rule for 3 minutes. We want to make sure that everybody has a chance that wants to speak today. So first, okay, come to the microphone, please, one side or the other.
We're going to time it. When it gets to 1 minute, I'll just hold up a 1.
Oh, that's so nice of you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You don't want me to run the timer over here?
I'll be,
Yeah.
hey,
Can you run the timer there?
I'm going to try.
Okay.
Well, he'll do the same, because
Yeah.
he's right here,
The
so.
lights are better because he can
Okay.
see them.
I can't see them, though.
I'll do
Yeah,
my-
I
You're
can't.
not on the clock yet.
I'm going to do my 20-second. You won't even get time to put it on the clock. Can you explain to us?
Please, if you come for public comment, clearly identify yourself for our transcriber. Thank you.
Lawrence Abramoff, 195 Tropical Shores. Can you please explain to us the role of the Anchorage Committee in citing the upland and evaluating the need for and citing the upland facility? Thank you. I hope I didn't go over.
Okay, next,
And
please.
Chelsea,
It's
do I hold the button to get it to start?
I have no idea. I can go ask
Sam,
Jason.
Sam can
I'll
do
time
it,
it.
it's fine.
Okay.
Do we have someone else?
Good morning, Marty White, Tropical Shores Way. I just, personally, I don't understand the process that would allow someone to make a decision to bring the entire Anchorage down my canal. I don't understand the process that someone can buy a lot on Fort Myers Beach at the end of a canal without talking to the town council, and then hurry up and try to rush it through for an April 1st grant. You know, this whole process is beyond me, and I really hope that the people involved in this think hard about what they're doing, what they're about to do. Thank you.
Press this button and it just beeped red.
Someone else? Well, we appreciate you being here. There is a public, oh, another? Okay.
3, yeah. Then it should work?
Fine.
Okay, because it was on 0.
As long as you want.
State your name, please.
My name is George Cormos. I start buying property.
Stop. I didn't, excuse me.
I'm sorry, he's,
I know, I'm trying to hear. I'm sorry. Can you state your name again, please?
George Cormos. I start buying property here in 1986. I used to own the car wash and the laundromat. I always had about 30 units around here. I've owned the property on this canal here on Tropical Shores for 27 years, and I hate to see what you want to do with it. By increasing the amount of mooring balls by 30%, just take common sense. There could be 2 people per boat. That could be 160 people out there. So if all of them take a shower one day, you got 160 people coming up for laundry and showers up and down the canal. If I'm wrong by 50%, you got 80 people. If I'm wrong by more than that, you got 50 people a day coming up and down that canal. That's a residential canal, and we've got no business doing that. It seems like this whole thing, like he said, was pre-done before nobody would talk about anything. We couldn't get any information. They spent $1 million on that property back there. It's just a little postage stamp. They said it had to be bought right away because somebody might buy it. It's been for sale for a long time. I looked at it months ago. I wanted to put some docks in there. Basically, they spent $200,000 on mooring balls. I guess they're ordered or the money spent. So that's $1.2 million without saying a word. They also went out and got engineering. They got environmental study. They've got a drawing of the whole facility. I don't think that was free. So they went ahead and spent all this money without saying a word to us and just gonna jam these people down the canal. I also heard the city manager talk about the $3 million number, maybe to build this facility on top of the other million. You're looking at $4 or $5 million to build this. You're gonna lose money every year if you take 30 mooring balls and you add the rent for them and maybe take off a little bit for the summer. They're always rented fully in the winter. You're gonna bring about $350,000 into the city. But you're gonna spend about $700 to maintain, to operate this business. So my question to you is there any thought in this financial part? Do people know we're gonna lose money every year and spend a lot of money to lose money? I don't get it. If anybody was looking to make a business out of this and you presented that to them, they would run out the door and get out of here as fast as they could. So it doesn't make any sense other than we're seeing the grant money. Now, nobody would talk to us much about the grant. Is that a one-time grant? Is it $1 million? Is it $3 million? What do we get? If we get $2 million, we're still spending $3 million to lose money every year. So I can go on all day, but I'd like to see your business plan or your financials. Is that possible? I'm out of time. I guess I can't go on all day.
Wrap it up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you already spoke, so.
I have my wife's turn.
Well, if she wants to, yes.
I'm Gloria Abramoff. I live at 195 Tropical Shore Way, and I would like to cede my minutes to Lawrence Abramoff. Thank you.
Can we do that?
This is your meeting.
I'm sorry, it's a public meeting, we should be allowed to speak, and I apologize for not remembering this before. And I'll be quick as I was before. Have any of you seen what this canal looks like at low tide? You realize that at the end of the canal, where you intend to put these docks, that it is mud. By my estimates, and if you want to see the picture, here it is. Would you like to pass that around? It's mud.
We're aware.
10,000 cubic yards of mud would have to be taken out of this canal to make it usable on an everyday basis for boats. For the town's pump-out boat, for the other town boats, for the 20, 30, 40, 50 dinghies a day that you plan to bring down here. It would damage the mangroves, an important native habitat, and our seawalls. Are you prepared to compensate us for all of that damage? Thank you. I'd be happy to share this picture if anybody wants me to email it to them. This was Sunday morning, by the way, not some distant time in the past. This was this past Sunday.
Anyone else? Okay.
There's another time at the end.
Yes. There is more time at the end of the meeting. Approval of minutes from February 16th, 2022.
Sam Lurie, I move we approve the minutes.
Greg Holmes, I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Staff report.
Austin Gilchrist, Town of Fort Myers Beach Harbor Master. The staff has met with citizens for an outcry meeting this month as well to get kind of an idea of what the issues are with the upcoming project. Pump out boat went in for an oil change, 100-hour oil change went in. No problems with the boat. We do have a new boat coming in. I believe later on this month or next month, the new pump out boat should be arriving. We've got the vending machine procedures have been initiated. We've got a procedure with finance to get that taken care of. Stocking and all the ordering and all that has been taken care of as well. We are fixing up the buoys around the island as well. We're going through and assessing all of our special purpose buoys, Seagrass buoys as well. We do have quotes out getting prices to replace all of those. We are working with engineers to get training for the crew to go in and install buoys as well to limit the cost of install. Excuse me, the cleaning and the cleaning and inspections taking place this month for the existing mooring systems. We're up to ball 20 starting today. We should have divers in the water periodically through the week to inspect and clean all the systems currently we have. We've identified 2 hazards in the navigational waters this week. We've marked them both with buoys. We've sent divers down to identify one and try to remove one with failure. We've marked it, and we're working with contractors to try to get that removed. Excuse me. There were 2 boats that have damage during the storm this past weekend. We did have one go down in the expansion area where we're trying to expand to. We've notified Lee County Sheriff, and they should be under investigation by the end of the week. We have purchased a truck for the Maritime Division as well, a small utility truck for staff to able to get utilities done. It's just a basic hybrid truck, so good for the environment, easy on gas.
To be clear, Chelsea Riley, Public Works Director, we had no issues with the Saturday or the weekend storm for any of the systems in the field. What Austin was referencing is of the Anchorage field at the north end, or the proposed expansion area.
Is he referring to the pontoon? It looks like a pontoon boat.
No, there was a Carver, I believe it was a cabin cruiser that went down outside of Bird Island.
Oh, looks like a pontoon out there too.
Yeah, no, it's just a cabin cruiser that went down. We did have one dinghy break free that ended up in a residential area that the town has recovered. We ran the numbers and trying to make contact with the owner of that to get that returned to them. Other than that, we are at maximum capacity in the field. We've been at max capacity for this since our last meeting. We are continued to raft. We do have, I believe, about 5 vessels out there up rafting with another vessel. We did check with engineers, and the systems are designed for that. And then our swing radius and all that comes into play as well.
Is that part of our agreement that they're allowed? I see maybe ball 48 or something near Salty Sam's. There's 2 large catamarans.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's perfectly okay with?
Yeah, we've checked with engineering and all of the structures and I'm sorry, submerged land lease and
So what's to
everything.
keep somebody from paying for 1 ball and having 5 boats rafted up to?
Enforcement.
Okay, so you're using?
We're under, yeah, so basically what we're doing is both parties have to have an agreement that that is what's going on. We're not rafting anybody that doesn't know anybody or anything like that. That is pretty much standard throughout other mooring fields where you are required to raft up with or without consent, but here we require consent from both parties.
Are they paying double or just for 1 ball?
They pay double. You have to have a lease to be in the field, and in order to get a lease, you have to be on dock well.
Which part of that is insurance as well.
Yep.
Each vessel must provide proof of insurance.
We don't have any way for them to have like a double fob or anything, or do we?
We do, and we're working with that, but as of right now, it's not been an issue.
Okay,
We do have spare fobs for circumstances.
for circumstances like that.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
So, we did receive notice a couple months ago regarding the Seagrass buoys at the south end of the island. The triennial inspection is due. We did contract with Coastal Engineering to do the inspection. There are supposed to be 22 Seagrass buoys down at the south end. If you'll recall, years ago, the town dredged that Laguna area. And part of that dredging at the time, we had a Seagrass buoy permit. Needless to say, we have about 20 Seagrass buoys that need to be replaced. And so we're just looking to get some pricing on those buoys. Austin mentioned the engineer will show us how to put them together and install them. And Austin and his staff will install them. We'll probably get those ordered here. Once we get pricing, we have to get 3 quotes. But that is out of compliance right now, and we're working to get it back into compliance. The expansion ITB went out yesterday, so we are under the cone of silence. So I can't talk to anybody about that, but it is out to bid. We met with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection regarding the Bayside Park application for the dock. we met with them last week, I think it was, and we resubmitted our application for that public dock, no longer a dinghy dock, but a public dock at Bayside Park.
So, nothing.
It'll go through the permitting process. Army Corps is waiting on our response, so we're drafting that. The engineers are drafting that, and then FDEP will do their review. And then Army Corps is kind of waiting on FDEP to issue before they issue. So,
I have a question about that dock. It's designated a public dock, is that correct?
yes,
Is that different from our original dinghy dock designation?
yes.
So then, does this mean that anyone, since it is public, will be allowed to dock their boat there? Of any size, any?
No, it'll be limited by the dock itself and the access to it, but for application purposes, we had to deem it a public dock.
So somebody with a 40-foot boat can take up the whole dock?
No, there's enforcement, and we would have to, we have to tell DEP how many slips are there.
And size limit?
Yes.
Can we do the 10-foot like we have, or that's to be determined?
To be determined by the engineer.
Can we make a recommendation to this engineer?
You guys can provide feedback, yes.
Because if we're gonna have a dock there, I can see someone with a 28 to 30-foot pontoon boat, for example, that draws very, very little water coming up on that dock, and then we've got, you know, a situation we don't really
It would
want.
still be a town dock, just like all the other docks, where we enforce it, and if there's somebody docked there that shouldn't be, you know, we can pursue that. Just like we have at the dinghy dock, where you're required, no matter if you're public or private, you're required to get a dinghy permit from the town. That way, God forbid something happen, we can notify you, or your, you know, if your dinghy is damaged or if there's any other issues.
Well, I hope we can impress upon the engineer, because not all engineers, quite frankly, are people who are, I don't always, how can I put this? Their seamanship skills may not match their engineering skills. So I think it would behoove us to at least encourage them about the 10-foot, to keep that as a common practice for both of our docks there.
Well, our engineer is Coastal Engineering Consultants, so.
Thank you.
Austin, is there a delinquent report?
No delinquents at this time. We did have a mishap with a boat sale going on in the field, but we resolved it. Just one fell in delinquent, but the new owner didn't sign a lease with the town, and the old owner still had a lease, so there was a gap. But it was taken care of.
Thanks.
And Bender is posted right now. It's again with the attorney, so we're waiting for the time limit to expire to go back to the courts and, you know, take possession of the vessel and hopefully sell it and recoup some of the lost funds.
Anything else?
Not for this part.
Anybody have any further questions for staff report? No? Okay. Strategic plan review, I don't think there's really anything to do, except we need to have like the printed out of what, all the changes that we did
Yep, we'll get that to you.
sometime. I mean, that's something that's not on the top of the heap, I think, but I think we've pretty much gone through the whole plan, so we need to have an updated one.
Okay.
Anything more on that? Cruisers Appreciation Day. I had something, I think I can't, I have too many things here. Thank you, everybody that's gotten items so far. Yeah, I've gotten your list of what you have. Mike, I need to get yours. and also Ted's. I don't necessarily need the items today, but I do need Greg, if anybody gets any more things, I always make a list that we put on the table, so I need to know that before the event. And those of you that have things, bring them, obviously. I have a few things too, and I'm wrapping that up. I did talk, or I had an email conversation with the MRF person, so they're going to have their pop-up. Is Yucatan having the beverage tent, Austin?
Yeah, Yucatan, they just turned in their ABT permit today, so they're just waiting on approval through council.
Okay. The two things that I thought of that we need, we talked about having a sound system for music, but we need a microphone. Is there,
Yeah, we have a bullhorn if you want to go that route, or we can use a microphone plugged into a PA. It depends on whatever you want to do.
I think a microphone in a PA is better.
If it's not too much to do a PA, are you bringing the PA to play the music anyways?
I can bring two. I can bring one just for the mic, and then one for the music
Yeah, well, we need something
to project.
to project. And I thought, I didn't bring it with me, but if you guys could make either a stick-on or you have those little sleeves for name tags with the logo and our names and AAC. Is it possible to get something like that for us?
I'm just thankful you told me now, and not the day before.
Well, that's why I wanted to do it now. Well, it would be nice to have it. I mean, I've made them on stick things before, but if we had something with the logo and
We'll get those.
that, it would be nice for people to know who we are as we walk around.
Yep, we'll do that.
We have some change coming
We will have.
for the raffle, because I think that's the only thing that we have to sell tickets for, but
We'll have
we'll
small bills,
need a
yes.
little bit. And
Permits, everything went through the sheriff and we're all finalized on our permit?
I was waiting for your response.
I sent everything over and that Jen
Jen replied that it was good.
Hillary, yeah.
Okay, so then
I think I forwarded that to you.
I'll follow up with Patty and just make sure that she received that from the sheriff, and then we should be good to go.
Yeah, let me know if there's anything else. I think,
She was walking out of my office when I was walking to go pick up something earlier, so she may have been trying to tell me about that, so. But yes, council already approved it via the budget and approving the funds for the event, so just waiting for Roger's signature for that event.
and I have a permit number if you want. Did you have that number already? You've got all that.
I've got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
did the banner go up, Austin? Were we able to put it? It's up.
We do have the banner. I'm sorry, we do have the banner up in the office right now.
Okay. And it's not going up outside.
I haven't gotten clearance yet. I'll check with that after the meeting today and see if I can get authorization to put it up under the bridge.
Is there, since this is for the whole mooring field, not everybody comes into the office, is there something on the bulletin board down there?
Not currently, but I can get something.
Because I've got extras, in fact, of these nice posters,
Those look good, yeah. I'll take a couple.
and take a couple of those, and anybody else that wants one.
It was the ad that Sam provided, the press release, I just noticed was put in the paper, so that's out there, and then I know on the website Jenny did that, so.
That's in the Observer this week.
Yeah, I have a copy in the office, I can get it for you.
That was my next.
Because I just want to make sure that everybody in the mooring field knows.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and we'll print some of these out, and when the guys are doing the pump outs, we can distribute them.
That'd be great. I think that's a good way to do it. Okay, we paid for 140 meals, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I know that it's offered 2 meals per boat, but we're not going to use them, probably, because some of the boats don't have 2 people on them, is that?
That is correct. Some of them are wet storage as well. So.
Right. So I was wondering, I haven't sent out my usual invitation to council, but I was wondering who we would give meals to other than just the mooring field patrons, because we do want to use all the 140 that we have.
That's for you guys to decide.
Because are we going to do it for us? Are we going to do it for staff? Are we going to do it for council? All of the above? I mean, we are going to have the raffle money, too, to help us offset if we need to buy more meals.
I think we'll be fine.
Okay.
I think last year we did all council, the staff that was helping with the event, and I think we did
Us.
us. So I'd like to make a motion that we provide the meal tickets the same as we do for the patrons to town council, active staff that day, and the members of the Anchorage committee.
Second.
Any discussion? I would include the mayor, or I mean, not the mayor, the town manager.
Okay, yeah. And
Is that okay? Can we
town
mention?
manager and whoever's active
Right, staff.
on the staff
Okay.
doing the event,
Okay.
including Chelsea and Austin, even if they're not working.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? I wanted to know that before I invited people. Just, I didn't want to invite them and say, oh, by the way, you don't get a meal. Are there any other things?
To that point, Kathy, will you be drafting that email and sending it?
Yes.
Okay, please make sure that when you send it, or maybe we have it go through the clerk, you draft it and have the clerk send it out
Okay.
just for sunshine laws,
Okay.
just in case.
This is just, I can't send it to the town council? Technically? Okay,
Just if you could draft it and we'll get it to the clerk and have her distribute it.
okay.
People tend to like the reply all button, and that doesn't work. So,
Well, yeah, okay. I was the only, okay, I gotcha. I understand, okay. And then she could forward to me if there are replies of,
in your note, you can say, please RSVP with Kathy Light, Chair of the Anchorage Advisory Committee by whatever date.
all right. Actually, it probably doesn't matter. We probably never had RSVP. Well, we have, but it's fine. Okay. Anything else? We're going to have a tent for us, correct? Gotcha.
I've got the bottle. We have two-sided
tickets.
tickets.
Yes?
Yep, for the raffle,
Have-
correct?
Gift, welcome gift.
We got a welcome bag.
Yep.
I can't think of anything else.
We're borrowing tables and chairs from the rec center, so Austin will be coordinating that. We'll have the tent. We'll have the designated spaces for the food truck, for you guys, for Murph tent, for Yucatan tent, and 1 to 5, I think is
5,
1 to 5, and staff will break down the event afterwards, and restore and open the parking lot back up.
That's 1 to 5, Friday, March 25th.
And you're bringing the thing for the raffle tickets?
bringing the
like
bottle.
Bottle, okay. All right. Anything else? Okay. Harbor Management Plan.
I only received one email from Doug with his comments, and Randy combined his comments with the latest version that we had. I'll be completely honest, I haven't had a chance to get back to review the harbor management plan, but we did combine Doug's comments that were provided.
Do we want to start where we ended and do a little work on it today?
It's up to you.
Let's do some. We've got time. I had a couple of generic comments, however. Before we start through this, when I was rereading it the other day, one of the things that was referenced in the column towards the end was checking phone numbers. We need to check the statute numbers and if they really say what we say they say in here, because I don't know when this is at least my third time through this, and I don't know when the last time that was all checked.
Last year when we did the expansion.
All the statute numbers were? Okay, so they're probably accurate then.
We will double check them before we formalize.
Okay.
Let
The other,
me go grab my copy, but you guys can keep talking.
well, I have another generic comment before you leave.
I'll wait. I will wait.
There's a lot of references to former sections in
Okay.
here, referencing numbers, and you took out all the Roman numeral numbers. So it makes no sense now, because I think we need to add them back in,
Okay.
Or come up with another numbering system, because it makes no sense if the sections aren't Roman numeraled to reference to a Roman numeraled section.
Okay,
So I don't know what people think about that, but,
we'll clean that up at the very end.
okay. Because otherwise, you've got to reference by
Understood.
the section, but in any case.
Okay,
Okay,
I'll be right back.
all right. We stopped before on page 7, right after the top, right before number 4.
Rules and regs?
Yeah. Rules and regulations. So it's page 7 in the rules and regulations section, number 4 is where we start. I don't think there's too much on this page that they changed. The only thing that I see is in number 7. Oh, you have a different one.
I have just a bigger,
Okay.
no.
Well, because this is the one that has all their edits in it. You should have that somewhere.
Something like this.
It didn't just come out recently. We've had it for months, but,
That's the one I've been marking up. It should be.
okay. Did anybody see anything on that page other than what they suggested, the town will down farther? Anybody? Greg, I don't think has that the same one either. Do you have this one?
Probably not, I have.
Oh, you,
February 21.
well, this is adopted February 21, but then there's edits by them. I don't think you have the one. Okay. Well, they sent out that was the one that was adopted in February 21, but then they sent out one in the fall that has edits. Do you have that one, Ted?
Not right now.
Well, then maybe we shouldn't do this.
I think the most recent one I have is amended January 21, adopted February 3rd, 21.
Yes, but then they sent out one that had their edits on it.
You got edit stuff on yours? Yeah, you do. That looks like.
I got,
Yeah, we've got edit, but it isn't the one.
we're talking about under
Yeah, I think it is.
rules and regulations, the mooring field rental, and you just talked about allowing them to raft up doubled. Should we make a comment in this then, in our master plan, that it's allowed to be done? Because it's not, doesn't say you can do it in here. Doesn't make any comment.
Right. I don't know if we need to.
I don't know either. What do you think, Austin?
From my understanding, I wouldn't go into what we can do. I would just try to stick to what we can't do in the field.
Well, and my thought too, there's some things in here that were suggested that, along the lines of, I don't want to be too specific about things in general. This is kind of an overall plan, and when you get specifics, then you have to go back like every year. If you decide to do something different, then you have to,
Right.
I don't know about that one. It doesn't say you can't, but it doesn't say you can either, so I'm not sure. Well, the only suggested comment is in number 7, but it already says, it says the town will not be liable for the care. I don't know what it says in your plan.
That's
Yeah.
what it says. Yeah.
Yeah, it already said, I don't know if it said whatever, but I don't think there's really much on that page. If we go to page 8, number 9, under that section, they suggested towards the end, in the last sentence, the harbor master is authorized but not required to make the necessary move instead of affect the necessary move, which is probably fine. But at the end of that is, again, see section 2A3 above. If we don't have the Roman numerals, that makes no sense.
What page, I'm sorry?
We're on page 8, number 9, foul weather.
Okay.
We need to have the Roman numerals back in, I believe, so we can, because we can't really take that out because it references something that goes along with that paragraph, I think. Everybody think that's okay?
Some way to reference it.
Yeah,
Again, the formatting issues we'll address
Either
at
an
the end.
Sure.
appendices or something that.
Yeah, a different numbering system or something. Number 10, failure to vacate. We're still working with the 24, that you want to change from a week, 7 days to 24 hours. I think that's pretty small window, personally.
Loss of revenue is,
I understand it's a loss of revenue. My question in it is how we're going to enforce it. If you have, particularly if you have a wet stored boat, I don't think it's practical to do it in 24 hours.
I think we should refer this to the attorney to look at maybe. Because he's going to be.
this is an operational issue. This is not an attorney issue. This is an operational issue that we've come across, that we either A, cannot get in contact with folks, even through their emergency contact, and/or they are delinquent. And these are lost revenues that we should have a minimum contact with. It doesn't matter if it's a wet storage or a liveaboard, with either an active phone number for them and/or their emergency contact. Again, this is a staff recommendation. If this committee recommends something different, we're all ears, but please provide justification why you're recommending that.
Well, we don't fall under the landlord-tenant rules anyways, so we can make our own.
Well,
It would seem to me that I agree with Kathy, that the 24 hours presents some issues. I understand the loss of revenue, so perhaps a compromise would be to change that number to something like, for example, let's assume that you're a person and you're in arrears on your, and you're unable to contact them, they're unable to contact you within that 24-hour period, which is a pretty restrictive period of time. So why not change that to 48 hours? That gives them 1 day to be contacted and 1 day to you either ante up the money or you're out.
The way that we're conducting it now is the tenant is in full notification of the expiration of the lease that they have with the field. So we take that into consideration as notification upon expiration of lease. So that's why the 24 hours was added other than the week, because they've already had a month of notification of letting them know that their lease is coming up for expiration, and we need to know what they're doing with their vessel. So that's where the 24 hours, we've already, by this time we initiate this, it's already been a month in communications of letting them know that we need to know what's going on with this
So
vessel.
we are communicating to them in what manner?
We both have email, DACWA, and telephone.
And forgive me if I'm wrong, but Kathy, you have a contract. Do you not get notified from through DACWA that your lease is about to expire?
I don't go on DACWA, I get an email.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an automated thing through through DACWA that they're
Well,
getting
I
notified.
get an email that it's coming up, that it's going to be renewed, maybe 4 or 5 days before.
So you're on auto renew, but from what I understand with DACWA is those who have an active lease with the town, they are notified a week in, I don't know what the time frame is, but there's automated messages that go out. So they're very aware, the renter is very, I don't know that they're cognizant, but they're aware that their contract or lease is up.
All right, that explains it, thank you.
They're being notified. The next section, are you really going to go start somebody's boat and move it?
We have.
You have? Okay. And they know that you're, you're not hot wiring it or anything? Okay. Okay, I guess that's okay then.
Anything else on that? Number 12 has the same thing, 24-hour. Now, okay, I have a question in number 12, though. Does it mean that you can just say you're out with no cause? I mean, that's kind of what that says. You can just terminate them in 24 hours written notice and they're gone. Is that what that says?
It does, I don't see any reference.
It says with
It
cause.
with cause.
With cause.
With cause, gotcha, okay, I'm sorry, yeah. Okay, disputes. It has to be the Anchorage Advisory Committee and not the town manager, as per ordinance 1803. It is in our ordinance that we do disputes from the mooring field.
Okay. I'll need to review that because no other advisory committee has any financial say in the town's business. And that's,
In the ordinance.
again, I'll review that. Typically, it goes to the town manager and then it goes to the town council for any other disputes.
And if a dispute happens tomorrow, we have to wait a whole nother month.
Yes, whereas administratively, the town manager can handle it,
Well,
or
not necessarily. You can call a special meeting.
You can.
you have to have at least a week's notice.
Whereas if it's town manager.
So that Kathy was the thought process, was no other financial anything goes to an advisory committee.
I understand, but just saying.
Okay, we'll review the ordinance.
Vessel repairs. You either need to leave in that when or rewrite the sentence because it doesn't make sense. Notify the harbor master prior to work by an outside contractor is to be done does not make sense. So that when either needs to be left in or rewrite the sentence.
Okay.
Is my English correct?
Just eliminate the win, right?
Well, no. I mean, if you eliminate it, the rest of the sentence doesn't make any sense.
Provided by the harbor master prior to work.
You have to notify them prior to when the work is done.
Right. If there's no when, there's no.
If there's no when,
schedule.
it doesn't make.
There's no time.
There's no time. So I think we have to
Just
leave
leave
it.
the when, the prior
Leave the
to
when in.
plus when.
Prior to when the work is done, otherwise,
So leave the win in.
yeah, you
Leave the
have to
when
leave the
in.
when in. Okay, we're on page 9. This is where in the original, or in the last thing, number 16, whoever did this put number 15 in as number 16 and took it out, but number 16 in the original one is the thing about insurance. The insurance caveat, which somebody dumped out, and, I mean, if you don't want the boats to have insurance, that's okay, but.
The original had a number 16.
Number 16 in the one that was adopted has the insurance requirement, and that's what number 16 is, but that isn't what was printed here.
Okay, it mistakenly got omitted, we'll put it back.
Well, I mean, if you don't want insurance, that's okay.
No, we do.
So I'm just
Mistakenly got omitted.
saying. Number 16, yeah, just go back to the February 2021 plan, it's the insurance requirement is number 16. Okay, I haven't looked at, in number 1, under rules and regulations governing mooring and other activities, I haven't looked into any of those provisions or anything, but the comment was we need to look into those, so we probably do. Number 2, I just had a question about, it talks about not, there was a question about we don't want to take responsibility of repairing someone else's vessel. However, we don't let boats sink if we can help it, right?
Is there a question?
Yeah, that was the question.
No. We don't, we notified, just the other day, Austin had to reach out to a couple vessel owners because their boats needed some attention. And so we do not let it get to that point. But in the event, that was my question in there, is we don't want to take on the responsibility of repairing somebody else's boat. Fear of liability. That was kind of my question, and that's probably more of an attorney question for liability.
Well, because this has to do with an emergency. It doesn't have to, I mean, and an emergency to me would be somebody's boat, somebody's bilge pump doesn't work. They have a hose that cracks, something. I
Somebody
mean,
ran into it.
huh?
Somebody ran into their boat.
Well, Yeah, and that's a whole nother animal. But, I mean, are you saying then that you want to take this whole section out?
I think it needs to be looked at in detail.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, and 4? Oh,
Well, 2,
okay.
we're
You
talking
don't call
about
the
2.
Coast Guard if it's sinking?
Coast Guard's always called.
Yeah, because I watched them do all the boats the other day that were outside of Pink Shell. They're getting breaking and moving. The Coast Guard goes, grabs them, ties them up, and then moves them back and anchors it for them. They're doing it like crazy that day. So they're there to help.
Again, I don't necessarily know that we want this to be the town's responsibility, and that's
Well,
why,
that's why I'd say you ask the Coast Guard to get
Yeah.
involved, because
Yeah, no, it
They don't want-
definitely shouldn't be the town's responsibility.
bigger problem if it
But,
sinks.
you know, if there's an emergency, I wouldn't see a problem if the town, you know, threw a pump on the boat to them, or if you
Coast
could.
Guards have
Of course,
pumps.
Coast Guard's gonna do
Coast
that.
Guards have the
Yeah.
pumps.
Yeah, I don't think the town should be responsible for other people's boats.
All the Coast Guard.
We are responsible for cleanup, though.
Yeah.
That's
that
why
in
you
mind.
want this.
Well, and there is an issue. That's one of those sticky things. I think we need to think through that, yeah.
Hard because every case is different.
Yes. Number 4. Towards the end of it, there's a change from may to will assign a temporary mooring. I have a question, though, about adding the statement about no markers or dinghies shall be left as a placeholder. What about, because it's happened to me before, I went to get fuel, and I didn't leave anything there, and I came back and somebody was on my mooring ball. I was gone 2 hours. Or I go out for a day sail,
so,
and I leave my dinghy there so I can get back to shore.
so per this plan, this current plan, as it sits written and adopted today, is if you leave the field, you're to notify the harbor master.
Even if you go for a day sail?
If you're, yes.
Wow.
You're supposed to notify the harbor master because that gives us the opportunity to rent out your ball while you're gone. And we have done that.
I don't think so.
Other places don't do that.
No,
Well,
no,
that is how this plan is
No.
written,
no.
as it sits today.
But again, let's just say it's just something like you go over to Moss Marine to the fuel dock, and the fuel dock is full. So you're out there circling, and it takes you, instead of a half an hour stop for fuel, it takes you an
If-
hour. Are you saying to me then that while I'm gone for that hour, that you could rent the ball?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying if you go out on a day or multi-day sail, and we have done this, we've coordinated this, and it's been successful, that while you're gone, we can rent that ball out.
Multi-day sail I see, but I don't see that if you go out for a sail for a couple of hours, that you have to notify
No, no.
the office.
Okay, let's be clear what we're talking about. You said a day sail, and a day sail to me is a 24-hour day.
No,
If you say day sail is a couple hours, no, we're not gonna rent that out.
Okay.
But you should be notifying the harbor master that you're vacant, and that he knows that you're gone.
for 3 hours?
Do you get notified if people leave for short day sails?
At the current moment, we're requesting anybody that does leave the ball notify the office. We've been having a problem with people, especially with our wait list. People see a ball open up and they just come in and take it, and then when that person comes back from their day sail, that the ball's not available. So that way, when we are notified of the actions of the system, that way we can keep people off that system and keep it available for when they come back. If they do leave for an extended amount of time, more than 3 days, we do request that we're notified so that we can monitor the ball as
Yeah,
well.
I understand that. But that's why I have this problem with leaving for a day sail and not leaving your dinghy on the ball for the day sail, for the 3-hour sail, or to go to get fuel.
She's talking about no markers.
Yeah, we have no markers on the systems.
Yeah, but I'm not taking my dinghy when I day sail. I don't do that.
Okay.
I mean,
I mean, it just presents an issue for staff as well. You know, there's nobody there monitoring the dinghy as well, so it's just a vessel.
Dinghy is on there for a half a day. Why is that an issue?
It's just in the harbor management plan, so we enforce it.
no, it isn't there. You want to add it there. It isn't there.
About the markers?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, for us, it's just something that, that's being added to the bowls, whether it be a dinghy, whether it be a
noodle.
a buoy, or whatever it may be. It's just something that the system's not designed to have on it. So that's why we don't request it to have it on it.
I understand you want to maximize the profits, but when somebody's paying, when a customer's paying for something, they don't expect to have to, jockey around to try to get their space back that they're already paying for the month or the week.
That's why we request you notify us when you are vacating the field so that we can monitor the ball.
Well, that I agree with. I don't disagree with that, but I
Another issue that we're having with the markers is people aren't taking the markers. So they just leave them on the ball. So we have to go out and cut them out and stuff like that as well.
What does this committee recommend that we do then?
Maybe we should work on some kind of time frame to frame it in.
Well, my thing is, I understand about if you leave overnight or 2 days. I'm fine with that. But it's not practical for a sailor that's going out for a couple hours to not leave something, their dinghy or something on the ball. And I don't think we should add this statement in, frankly.
I agree, and let me just give you a scenario. Let's say it's August. We all know about the afternoon thunderstorms around here. So you go out at 11 o'clock in the morning for a 4-hour sail, and you look out there and there's a black cloud forming, and so now you come back in an hour because you've got people on board that you're concerned about, and you're concerned about the safety of yourself and your vessel. You come back, and somehow in that 4-hour period, someone now is on the ball, which you have paid for. I hardly think that's a practical way to do it.
So what time frame
I
would we
remember,
recommend?
that's not what they said. They were not leasing out the ball if someone was going for a short period of time.
No, they're not, but they're saying we can't leave a dinghy or a marker on it, and somebody's slipped in and taken our
That's not
ball.
what he said. He said they would come back and find that someone was on their ball.
Because we aren't,
Because there's no way to mark it that you're gone temporarily.
But the scenario you just set out is not what they said they were doing.
I'll set
I'm
out a
just trying to
scenario.
let you know that.
Scenarios, you're gonna sail to Naples, spend the night, sail back the next day. And you get out to marker number 1, and too windy, your sail won't go up, your motor's not running right, you're overheating. You come back, you don't have a place to tie up.
Here, let me see if I can clarify this.
And that happens.
The request, if you do a day sail, is that you contact the harbor master, because we are constantly getting requests to come into the field. And most of the time, it's a person that's just on the other side of the bridge. I see ball number 12 is vacant, and they're messaging, and they're telling the harbor master, hey, ball number 12 is vacant. Harbor master has no idea it's vacant because you've gone on a day trip and you haven't given him a call to notify him, to where he can turn around and message this person back saying, that ball has been leased, they're on a day trip, we have no availability. It's a communication. I hear you, you say, okay, 3 days, if 3 days is what this committee recommends, then we'll put that in.
The semantics are kind of wrong, because a day sail is anything from an hour to 8 hours. That's a day sail, kind of.
okay, I understand what you're saying, and that's okay too. I don't mind the notification, but you guys aren't out in the field all day. If somebody, you can say that and somebody calls and says they want to come in, but you can also have people that just come in. And Austin's not out in the field, and there aren't eyes on it. So the end game is still the same, the ball is gone.
Okay, so let's move on, but I hear you. The concern is you want to have a marker of some sort
For a day sale.
for a day sale to be placed. And we will do some research and see what would be good with our systems to do that. If it's a dinghy, if it's a marker, if it's a buoy, if it's whatever it is. So we'll do some homework on that.
And timeframes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, big flag, it says rented.
Bob, I know that you need to leave in a moment. I think we're going to spend a little bit more time on this and then kind of wrap some stuff up.
Do you want to do the
But
member report?
I was just going to see if he had an item, a member item before you left.
Well, yeah. and-
We'll do the rest of the member
and
items
I
later.
apologize to the board, but I have another meeting I have to be at today. And, but I did want to say, you know, I see the people here today, and I totally understand. I'm a resident. I live on the bay. I was born and raised here on Fort Myers Beach. And I understand the problem, but I do want you to know this whole board, I believe, if I'm correct, including myself, wanted this facility to be put in a high commercial area between Snug Harbor and Nervous Nellies, that the town already owned that property. And we were saying this from over a year ago, and that was our recommendation numerous times. And unfortunately, the council did not agree with that, with what we suggested. And, you know, this is a advisory board to the council. We have no authority. We can't spend money. We can't do anything. But we try to manage what we're given, the harbor, and make suggestions that would cost the town the least amount of money and still be able to have the mooring field. The mooring field is very important. If you're not a boater, it's probably not important to you, but it's important to people that live on the bay. Years ago, before we had this mooring field, my neighbors and myself would have all kinds of problems. It was like the Wild West out there. A storm would come up, summer, blow hard. These boats are not anchored properly. They drag into our docks. I had a sailboat sitting up over my dock like this, and you called the Coast Guard, and they said, well, there's nothing we can do about it. Call the sheriff. You call the sheriff. The sheriff said, well, there's nothing we can do about it. Call the Marine Patrol. You call the Marine Patrol. Well, there's nothing we can do about it. There was nothing anybody could do about it. You called the county, everybody. It was your problem. But you said, well, what if I push this boat off my dock? Oh, well, then now it's your responsibility. If that boat goes down and hits somebody else's dock or whatever, you're going to pay for the damage. You're liable. So the whole thing was just a crazy mess. You come out in the morning and you had razors and shampoo and soap and stuff like that around your houses, especially the neighbors that were gone. They had to put off shut-offs to shut the water off on their dock because the boats were filling up with water from the docks. It was pretty crazy. So when the town had this mooring field idea, I was like, yeah, other cities have it, Key West, Sarasota, you name it. And it was a good thing. And it has changed, not to mention the ecological, because we have a pump-out boat. In the old days, everybody just pumps out into the bay. That's a lot of raw sewage. And I just want you to know it is important. We do understand your concern about, you know, dinghies and stuff going up and down the canal. And I wanted you all to know that this board did recommend what we felt was a much better location for it, but our hands are tied, so. Yeah.
We'll have some other comments at the end, but no.
No, sir.
No, you may not.
Yeah, and I apologize.
No, I wanted to give you a chance. We're going to have some more comment at the end, and there is another public comment at the end as well.
That would be the appropriate time to
Yeah.
respond.
I want to do a little bit more on this. I also have a time constraint too, and I want to make sure we have time for everybody to talk today, but I'd like to spend a little bit more time today with this, and then we'll go at it again another time, next meeting. I think we're at number 5, vessel inspections. I don't think there's anything here unless anybody saw anything. Number 10, tropical storm and hurricane. They kind of just made a few comments to change radio or cell to radio, cell phone, or other means of communication such as DACWA, which
Emails available.
emails are available through DACWA, is that correct? Yeah, okay, so we don't really need to put that in there. Graywater 11, they just took out the coin-operated because our laundry no longer is coin-operated, it just says laundry facilities readily available. So I don't see anything wrong, any problem with that. We're at enforcement of rules and regulations. I didn't really see anything. Anybody see anything in 1 through 5 there? I don't think so. I had a question on the mooring allocations. There was a comment, we need to define the 80 flexible moorings.
Yes, the term flexible is not actually defined in this, so that was my reference.
Okay, what,
I don't have a definition.
okay, I
yet.
think
It was-
flexible meant you could decide how you wanted to use them.
But I wanted to clarify that.
Okay, you just want to clarify
Yeah,
that.
it-
Okay,
specific-
clarify what flexible means.
the definition, yes.
Okay, that, because I think we should be as generic as possible.
I don't disagree. It's just
Okay.
I think there was a definition section above, and we need to add that to it.
Oh, in the first part of the,
There may be, I'm not sure.
yeah, well, okay, so you just want to have a more definition of what flexible means, okay. I don't have a problem. Anybody have any issues? Areas other than the mooring field, which is on page 12 for me, they just decided to take out the Marine Division and just say Lee County Sheriff's Office. Communications. We took out the or upland services provider, which there is a section that says we can have one. But I don't think there's a problem with taking it out. Just saying the town does that. Or do people think we should, I guess since we took it out, we did say that we could have one at a future time, but I don't know that it matters that we take it out here. Any,
If we're taking it in-house, it seems to me that's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
way it should be.
in number 4, where we added in DACWA, essentially if the town puts something in DACWA, then the person gets an email.
They get notified that there's a message, yeah.
I've never gotten that, well, because there's probably not.
We
a
probably haven't
message in
messaged you. I don't know that we've messaged you.
there.
We'll test it later.
We
Yeah.
message everybody at the
Well,
same
it would be
time and hit
interesting,
once.
yeah. I'd like to see if I would get something.
Okay.
If you would email me something, just a test message or something.
Austin will do
Because
that.
as I said earlier, I get the email that my contract is coming up.
I can tell you that when we get a message, I get a text notification.
You get a text.
I get a text, you have a new message in DACWA.
Okay.
But that's because I have my profile set up that way.
Ours is set up with email.
Austin will do a test.
Okay.
and,
Is there a blanket to notify everybody all at once? Let's say there's a storm coming, and when you want to notify
I don't-
everybody all at once?
The last time I posed that question to DACWA, which has probably been 6 months to a year ago, at the time they said no. So I'll have to follow back up with them and find out if there's like a mass message we could send out. But maybe not necessarily through DACWA, but we could export all of their contact information and just do a big email, blast that way. It may not necessarily be through the DACWA system.
Be nice if it was through DACWA and we could just say all current
Yeah.
renters.
Okay, communication, other jurisdictional authorities, took out the upland service provider. Otherwise, they didn't change anything. VHF radio, I had a question on number 2 and number 4. What channel do we use?
Yeah, we monitor 1.6 and direct them to 1.0.10.
Okay, so we need to change it in number 2, because it was changed in number 4.
What do they go to now? What number?
10?
10? Not 17.
So 17 is not there?
17 is not there, and it's 10. They changed it in number 4 to 10, but they didn't change it in number 2. So it's 16 and 10. All right. Number 6, it is illegal to advertise on VHF channels. the little blurb says announcements on what channel? I'm just wondering why that's,
It was a question for, mind you, when I first went through this was intended for Austin as me questioning things, and then we passed it on to you. So this was just some of my questions that I had. So, and again, it says if any, maybe there's not any announcements that need to be made.
well, announcement, isn't there a cruiser's net on one of the channels?
Yeah, there's a channel.
Not
Got thing
16,
on it.
though.
That's not on 16, but this says on VHF channels, period. So announcements are made, what channel is the cruiser's net on?
Advertisement's different than announcement, right?
Yeah, they do announcements, but nothing's advertised.
Yeah, but because I don't see changing number 6, I mean, that's just
That's all right.
a general thing, I think. Announcements are different, yeah.
Okay.
Calls to the town, I would say you don't need the word facility at all. Any incoming calls for renters and their guests is, I don't think you need to change facility at all. And then I just wondered about, does DACWA take incoming calls? Because this was talking about calls.
As in telephone calls?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just wondered about that, because this is just talking about calls.
No.
So I think any incoming calls for renters and their guests, unless the caller states that an emergency exists,
We'll put back the receptionist by the receptionist.
or something like that, I think. Or it says message will be posted on the bulletin board?
I don't want to do that.
Okay. Okay.
So we're eliminating DACWA and back to receptionist?
Yes, sir.
And so then they'll take, well, we don't have to get into that, okay. The rest of the environmental considerations is all, they just put some capitals in there and stuff. Further down on marine pollution, you wanted to add in, all decks must be clear of debris.
Yes, because guess where that debris ends up?
Understood.
That has been an operational issue. We've, like I mentioned earlier, that Austin and his team have come across, and we need to address that.
I guess that's okay. I just wonder who decides what's debris and
That
what's,
was my question.
what's,
Is a folding bicycle up on your deck considered debris?
Is it going to fly away?
Not if it's locked down.
Okay.
What about
The
your dinghy?
The concern is of debris that'll fly away into the waters. That's the concern.
People throw their trash in their dinghy a lot. They do.
yeah.
Right.
When it's not tied down, it could get blown over.
And the harbor master would make that determination.
That's not Austin's job, right? Floating.
Okay, they have, the next little paragraph is about trash and recycling, where they exist, where they are. To add the dinghy dock to it. Was that not there before?
Matanzas had it over, but where'd they have the?
But that, oh, it had upland services, okay, got it. Okay, all right. I would say, let's stop here today. Right before fuel and oil spills, we're almost pretty much done, actually. Maybe we should finish it. I guess we are close, so I don't think there's much more here. There's a comment to check the phone numbers, right? And so I guess we're pretty much done, actually.
We'll make the edits.
But manatees, you were gonna confirm with Chad, and seagrass protection. So we've gotten to the appendices.
Okay.
So, actually, that's pretty good. Start, I'm gonna put All right. Anything further on this section? Member items and reports. Yes.
Would you like to discuss this before we move into members' items and reports, since this did come up at the council meeting last
Sure.
Monday?
That's fine.
Okay.
It's part of our harbor management plan, I guess. Good. All right, let me get it. I have too many envelopes here. Do you have any comments?
So the town closed on the property. We're,
Not according to the, it hasn't been recorded.
Sam, it was just signed last night. So we closed on it last night.
Oh.
They're waiting to make all the paperwork, check all the boxes, but the mayor signed off on it last night. So it's closed. So this conceptual plan was worked on by both Tetra Tech, who is the architect, and Coastal Engineering Consultants, who would do the waterward stuff, like the dockage. We met on site, we reviewed it. We're trying to minimize impacts to the mangroves, to the neighbors, to everything that has been mentioned in meetings. And so if you look at the yellow box, that is the proposed location. The only mangroves that would need to be trimmed would potentially be where the dinghy slips are, or the town slips. Those mangroves are beneficial both for the town and the property owners. It's privacy for both. It's maintaining the environment. So we, the engineers, would like to minimize, and town staff as well, any environmental impacts. So that's why this location, if you look on this sheet, per town codes, there's a 25-foot offset from the mean high tide water line, and then there are setbacks from property lines. So evaluating all of the restrictions within the town's codes, this is what was recommended and proposed for a future upland site. Are there any questions?
I had questions about the Phase 2 and Phase 3.
Okay, those are just if town council ever determines a use, that would be where those ideas of whatever it may be would occur, if any.
So looking at the red section, Phase 3, that could be any type of thing that the town might designate. In other words, it would not have to be related to the mooring field facility.
That whatever the town council would choose. The programming needs for the upland services would fit within that yellow, the current programming needs would fit within that yellow box.
I'm questioning almost everything that was said at the March 7th meeting. Most of these people were there, but I think I'll save it for my member report. Are you going to be able to respond during my member report to any questions?
Yeah, we're here to answer any questions you have.
Looking at the, looking at the yellow spot, there's a little triangular space that's not, is that our property or somebody else's property? The little.
That's our property.
Oh, okay. It's a little hard to tell on a leap of where it.
Is some of this designated parking? Is there going to be parking for mooring patrons at this location?
The building would be elevated, so if there would be opportunity. If you notice, lower, kind of closer to the building, there's a dot that says Phase 1 parking reconfiguration. We would definitely look at reevaluating this parking lot here at Town Hall and try to get a better use out of it, but the building would be elevated, and you can put storage parking and access underneath on a first floor of a building.
And the dumpsters are right kind of where the yellow is now?
Yes.
You know where those are going?
If you look over here, it says on-site storage reconfiguration.
Oh, good. The drive-through.
Yes, the drive-through area.
That's where they're going?
Yes, that's what
Okay.
it's called out.
I guess I must have another one. Oh, it's a smaller. I have two different ones here. Okay. Okay.
So how much parking is going to be available? Is it going to be the same thing that's permitted? I mean, parking for patrons. Is it going to be permitted like it is under the bridge? Is it going to be the same permit?
It's just, this parking lot here after business hours is open to the public. So,
It may be, so if people from the mooring field park here, they may just leave their cars here. Are they allowed to leave them overnight?
I don't think they can leave them during the day. They can't leave them.
no, because if we have business hours, they're not allowed to park here during business hours.
Same as is now for people going to the beach on the weekends.
Correct. We have.
Well, we're still gonna have the dinghy dock downtown.
Yes.
Which is where the parking is.
Right.
So, I would think there's probably not gonna be patron parking here, in general.
Not planned as of right now.
Not
I mean,
20.
if they're, just like it would have business operating hours.
Right.
The Upland Service site. So if, somebody were to drive their car there to check in, they could park there and come, just like Town Hall. If you come to buy a parking permit for Town Hall, you park in a parking lot during business hours, you come inside, you do your business, and then you leave.
Anything else? Any other questions?
Any questions regarding the site layout? Any comments?
Do we know yet what sort of dredging is going to be necessary, if any?
I'm not sure with the engineer. We've heard from the residents that it's shallow in the area, and the engineer we'd have to review that.
Are we going to have like a 30% plant, when we,
If town so let me help clarify the process with this. So, the grant application resolution is going to town council on March 21st. And that would be for, up to $3 million that we would apply for. We would utilize the land purchase as the grant match. And so we've already expended those funds. We would put together a grant application package and submit that to the Florida Boating Improvement Program, which, as you know, we've been successful in the past on receiving grant funds. If council gives the green light to apply for that application, we would submit the site plan and a general concept of the building with our application. Now, the next step, since this has been closed, is we need to look at the zoning of those parcels. I just had a conversation. Pardon?
No, yeah.
Okay. So the zoning of those parcels, the one directly behind Town Hall, from what I understand as of yesterday, is the same as Town Hall, Commercial Boulevard. The long skinny one on Chapel is, I always mix up these letters, residential mixed. And so the one, depending on how council wishes to proceed with zoning, the town would put together a zoning application. It would get submitted to the local planning agency, LPA. LPA would review it, make their comments, recommendations, and then it would go to town council for their review. Now, there are restrictions with different zonings, if it's institutional, if it's commercial boulevard, so staffing-wise, we're looking at those and looking at those restrictions. So then the zoning would get approved. If this were to actually go into like a buildable project, yes, Sam, we would have 30, 60, 90, and 100% design progress, which all of those, like our other projects, would go in front of town council. Prior to that, we would have to get an engineering firm on board to do that design. That too would go to town council for their review and approval. So there are many, many steps before any shovel hits the ground back there. I mean, if a shovel falls off the guy's Kubota, I mean, no pun intended, but there are many, many steps in between anything going back there. If it's the upland services, if it's whatever town council deems.
Sam Lurie for the record. I've been in real estate for over 40 years. I've never run across for $100,000, much less $1 million, anyone that ever bought a property without knowing what they could or couldn't do with the zoning. It just seems like the cart is ahead of the horse on everything with this. So, I mean, there is no guarantee that we can build a building that we want or do what we want with the red area or even the green area.
The triangular parcel that's directly behind Town Hall is already commercial boulevard.
Right, that one is.
Yes, but the red piece, which is not part of the Upland Services proposal for the building, as you see, the building would not be built on the red piece.
Okay.
What we're proposing is strictly the yellow. And then again, if town council chooses to do anything else with whatever those future phases are, that
You have to get from the yellow to the dinghy dock. That may be a complication through the green marked area there.
understood.
But it just seems like it's all rushed. Okay.
Anything else?
Oh, any other questions? That's what we're here for.
We'll move on to member items then, because we may have some of this in there, and we can get some questions there. Do you have any member item, Ted? Mike?
Negative.
I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time, but I'll just go ahead and say, I think much of what you're witnessing here, I'm addressing the public, is the kind of murky relationship you have between an advisory board and the town council and staff. As Bob so eloquently said, I don't think this board ever recommended this particular plan or project in this manner. It was obvious to me, and I think to many others, that we had other better options, which for whatever reason the town council, and I do not have any idea why, I've never had anyone say to me what their reasoning was, other than, quote, that idea is dead in the water. So I find it very frustrating as a long-standing member of this committee that we're here today for this reason. That's it.
That's it? I'll come back to you. Greg?
No, fine, just looking forward to the Cruiser Appreciation Day.
Me too. It's different, and I'm kind of excited about that too, so. And thanks for your work with the food truck and all of that, all of you. And all of the arrangements, Austin and Chelsea, for that too. Sam?
Okay. Fortunately, I do not have a 3-minute limit. And just on what Mike just said about they never gave a reason, there was a reason given. It was, like you, most of you were at that meeting on Monday, March 7th. A lot of the same faces I see were there. I watched it on YouTube. It's on YouTube. And after I speak, I would encourage you to go back, and hopefully what I'm saying is accurate about that meeting. But the reason that I kept hearing was that Nervous Nellies in Snug Harbor did not like what we were doing there. So even though we own the property, we had a 30% plan already done that was going to go in conjunction with the veterans in the Bayside Park that was already there in a highly intense commercial area. The only reason I ever heard was that the merchants or the restaurants didn't want it there. So they decided not to. They decided to go from a commercial area to a residential area that's already got enough stress on it. They're building a brand new fire station where you're gonna hear alarms go off at 2 in the morning. So that's beside the point, but that's part of the point of keeping this neighborhood. My office was next to Tops for 20-some years. And this is a very quiet neighborhood. It was about the nicest canal to get away from all the action down there. I think they railroaded this through. A $3 million grant. I didn't realize the grant, but all I kept hearing during that meeting was, we have to do it so we get this grant, And we didn't need all that money. We could have done it down at Bayside for a fraction of the cost. And everybody thinks a grant is free money. A grant is not free money. It comes from somewhere, probably coming from somebody in South Dakota that's never been here, just like we're paying for their stuff there. So we should be considerate of grants and how we're spending everybody's money. In that Monday meeting, that would be the town hall meeting. So I'll refer to the town hall meeting and then the planning meeting, which was the Thursday. That Monday meeting, someone asked from public comment, why are we spending $1 million in buying a property? And there was a response that said, we haven't bought anything yet. Another question was, are there any plans to trim we have no plans to trim mangroves. And the most erroneous thing I heard the entire day was the town manager saying I don't even understand what this means. I'm sure you've heard it, the 10 trips a day. Aggregate. I don't know what that means. Or cumulative aggregate, I think he used the word aggregate. I don't know what that means, but I can tell you that when Austin takes the pump boat out, he probably might come back for lunch. Might go out once, come back, come do some work, go out again that day. To me, that's 4 trips right there. Okay, and
Well, can I, Sam,
yes, aggregate.
the pump out boat is at the Lee County lot.
I thought it's going to be here.
Sam, do you want to, how many times do you take out the pump out boat?
Yeah, the pump out boat, it leaves once in the morning for pump outs and then returns in the evening. We pump it out at Diversified once a day, so it goes out once, it comes back, and that's
Okay,
it.
3 days a week or so, okay.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, correct.
I must have exaggerated on that. But 10 trips a day, this is going to be the stopping point to go to Publix. Because when you take your dinghy to the, underneath the bridge, and do the trolley to get to Publix and get back, it's a little bit of a hassle. Anybody on this side of the mooring field is gonna be using this for groceries. You can have the showers there, and 10 trips a day, whether that's round trips or each way, I think that's a vast understatement. I don't know where that came from, but they kept repeating it the entire meeting. And then they emphasized how, and maybe Chelsea can help me with this one, how that people won't need to check in to the building. Not everyone will need to check in and out because of DACWA, but they still have to pick up their fob to get into the restrooms.
That's not, how we operate right now, that they can come in to the office to pick up their fob, we can coordinate it through the pump out. Like the town manager did say at that meeting, we could issue an access code, and that would all come with this design of this building, which is not a physical card per
Be
se.
on your phone.
It could be an app on your phone. It could be a passcode, a key code that you're given. And I don't know if you've ever been to Vegas, but you know, you're only given that for your stay, for your duration. So all of that would come with the design of the building. But how we operate right now, yes, people are issued fobs.
Right, and we just bought a whole big box of fobs to do that. There's a little bit more here. Getting back to what Bob said about, he got sick of seeing, I remember before it was a mooring field, it was the Wild West. It was trash everywhere all the time. And Bob said, there were shampoo beer cans, shampoo. Unfortunately, you're gonna get a little of that. And also, unfortunately, they said that we can regulate the hours. And yes, they can regulate the hours of the showers and that, but I'm not sure you can regulate the hours of people coming and going, to come here to take the trolley and whatever. And there will be people that are going up and down that canal during the off hours. There is no closed, you don't close canals down. Those are open. And I think Rexanne mentioned that there would be no large boats because there is, you know, pretty small draft to get in there. During high tide, you can get a 3-foot draft boat in there. You can get a 35-foot boat coming up and down the canal for whatever reason. There's no regulations against using the canals. Your traffic is going to increase a lot. It's going to change a lot. I've been up and down that canal. There's no one. Usually the residents only, every once in a while, a pontoon boat or something will come up and down to chase a dolphin or something. And there will be noise. Outboard engines make noise. Even the new 4-stroke engines, but the older, louder ones, they make noise. And the more noise than that is the people noise. You will notice that. We recommended every single meeting we've had for at least the last year. We recommended Bayside be the spot for this. So we're just a committee, an advisory committee. We hold no power except to recommend to town council what to do. And we advised back and forth. We helped plan a building. It was ready to be started. They decided not to have it because they got resistance from commercial people. Now they're getting a little resistance from not so deep pockets of residential people. And I'd say other than the library, which is a whole nother story, but for the same reason. And the only reason I bring that up is I was very vocal about the library, and it wasn't about building it or what it was. It was about getting public acknowledgement and having a referendum before they spent $12 million. They're spending $1 million. It was in the paper this week or last week. In the Observer, they took a poll. The poll said, do you support the town of Fort Myers Beach spending $1 million to acquire land to service the mooring field? 22% said yes. The rest, 72% were no, 6% were unsure, and that's just a general question. That wasn't even anybody affected by any of this. And they did not go for public approval on this, and I believe that's a big mistake. It's a lot of money, and I think it's going to turn out to be a lot more traffic than they expect, and I totally understand why you have issues with this being property owners and residents back there. I don't know what we can do at this point. Our liaison to town council, Rexanne, she's here. She's been to all our meetings. She has been communicating what we've said for the entire time. Almost every meeting, I think she reiterated what we said, that we wanted Bayside, and that there were concerns with every other location. And there's probably more concerns with this location than any of the other choices. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Kathy?
I have a few things to say as well. One thing I will say is that this didn't really come out of the blue, because we've been talking about an upland facility for 3 years, 3.5 years. I will also say that this is one location that was identified. It was not our first choice as a committee. It was probably not our second choice, probably not our third choice. It wasn't like it wasn't ever identified, because it was. I also am an adjacent property owner. Many of you know I live on Chapel Street, right across the street from the little sliver right there. So I have 2 hats in this, because I also have a boat in the mooring field. So I identify with all of what you're talking about and all of what everybody up here is talking about as well. I will say that I think, yes, there's going to be more traffic on the canals, no question. This facility, however, is not open to the public. I think some people think it's going to be for all boaters that are in the Back Bay, everywhere else. It's not. And I've been in the mooring field since it opened in 2004 under many upland service providers. It has never been open 24/7. I agree with Sam that you can't close the dinghy dock at night, but there's really nothing for people to come for here. If the facility is closed, there is not anything for them to come. There's not Tops anymore. There's not Casey's Alley anymore. Excuse me. I understand all of your concerns. I do. And I have concerns about how Phase 3 is going to happen because it will affect me more directly. But also, I want people to slow down because, as has been said, there's no building there. There are a lot of things to work out that have not been worked out yet. And we don't have answers to a lot of that and will not for a while because we don't have plans and whatever. But also, I want to say that the vast majority of the cruisers that are in our mooring field that are going to be using, and they don't all take showers, and they do on the, we take showers. No, I'm sorry. They don't all take upland showers. We shower on our boat, and a lot of people do. In any case, there's a lot of things that have to be worked out yet, and I'd like everybody to take a deep breath and please voice your concerns. They are valid. As we go forward, we need to know those things that you're concerned about in the planning for this facility. I will leave it at that. We need to, if we're going to do public comment, may need to leave if it's not finished, but we do have time for public comment at this time. Yes.
May I ask a question first?
Yes, I'm sorry, Roxanne?
As you related, I take your voice back to the council. They specifically ask for whether you had a chance to review this or not. I feel I've gotten mixed responses from you, and at present, my report to them would be that I got no clear recommendation from this group, and you're allowed to do that. You don't have to make a recommendation, but I just want you to know that at this point, that would be my report to them.
As far as?
The question always, the people turn to me and say, Roxanne, you're the liaison for the AAC. Do they have an opinion about this? And so what I'm going to take back was there was no motion made to take a position. There were concerns voiced by various members of the committee. There were differing levels of those concerns, but I don't have a vote. And like I said, you don't have to. I'm not telling you to. What I'm expressing to you, and my question is, do you understand that at this point, what I would be taking back to the council is I got no recommendation from the AAC as a group?
As far as going forward with the project, is that what you're saying?
Going forward, what I understand is that we're not voting on going forward with the project. We're voting on whether to go forward with an application for a grant, which we may or may not use. We are not forced to use it. We would not be applying if we didn't think we were going to use it, but my understanding is that we're going forward just to ask for the funds from the state of Florida. And like I said, my question to you is, do you understand at this point that what I will be saying to council is that there are varying opinions from this committee and they didn't take a vote on.
I didn't know we had to take a vote for
You don't have to. That's what I said 3 times.
Yeah.
You don't have to. My question is, do you understand that when they ask me the question, did you take a position, my answer will basically be no, that varying members had varying levels of agreement or opposition.
Well, my thought is that we have varying levels of concern, but I think we have to go forward with the grant application.
Okay. And I might say that one member said that, but as a group, you didn't take a position. I'm not asking you to take a position, but I don't want you to feel later on that I didn't express to your feelings to them. But at this point, what I would be expressing would be that there were varying levels of agreement and disagreement of this kind.
Honestly, I don't know how much more direct we could have been with the town council several months ago, when I believe we did take a vote
On that issue,
on the issue of what would be our recommendation for the facility and
what
where it
they're
was
going
to be
ask-
located.
They're going to ask me, did you express a position on the council applying for a grant?
Okay, that's different than us saying we agree with the location or this project.
That's what I've been trying to express to you. I don't know how I could be more clear.
Well, I don't know how we could have been any more clear several months ago to the town council when we recommended there were actually, I'm not
But
sure,
that's
I'm not
done.
sure if
It's
people are
done.
aware.
That's done.
It is done,
what
what I'm saying is, many of these folks have come here with good reasons, and we have, the town council's, in my opinion, short-sightedness in this is unbelievable.
And I did not vote that way, if you remember correctly.
I would very
appreciate it
much
not be
like,
taken out on me.
I would very much like those members on the town council that did vote against either Bayside Park and/or we had an opportunity to purchase 2 condominiums in Harbor House. I'd like to know who those were and what was their reasoning behind that, because
That's
as
not what I am asking today, sir.
I know that's not what you're asking, but what I'm simply voicing what has been a frustration on this council from the get-go about this whole thing. Maybe not everyone, I'm only speaking for myself.
Okay. Greg, do you have an idea about going forward with the application for the grant?
Obviously, it's not my first, second, or third choice either, where this
But this
plan
is where we are. Yeah.
If it's just for a grant, does a grant have to be applied here, or can the grant go back to going to the Bay Park or anywhere else we want to move it to?
I think the grant goes for this thing, but it doesn't have to be used. Is that correct, Chelsea?
Yes, ma'am.
And there's a general sketch.
Yeah,
It could be modified.
yes.
Rexanne, could you please describe what's going to happen at the next, because I know this is what, no, not like clairvoyant wise, but during the meeting, they said to ask us, because this will be our last opportunity to interject before the next meeting, and it sounds like the next meeting, they've already done the preliminary, next meeting is just to decide whether to apply for the grant so they get the deadline.
Correct.
So their next meeting is going to be based on that sketch to apply, based on a general sketch, to apply for a grant to proceed back here. So that's what'll happen next meeting.
All we're going to be voting on
Okay.
is whether to apply for a grant.
I think, Ted, do we apply for the grant?
Horse is out of the barn, I think.
Yep.
No, you have to vote no.
Excuse
You
me.
Excuse me.
you have to vote no.
Excuse me,
It's our
please.
lives.
Excuse me.
Not yet, not yet.
Not yet. Excuse me.
You'll get a chance in a few minutes.
Before you vote,
Excuse me.
let me just ask.
No,
Can we get a
excuse me.
chance before you vote?
No.
You won't
Excuse me.
listen to us?
Yes, we'll listen to you. Excuse me. No. No. Sorry.
No wonder why the council won't listen to us.
I tell you what, this whole town's
Excuse me.
Excuse me, if you can't be quiet, you're going to have to leave. I'm sorry. Excuse me,
I'm sorry. Abram. I apologize. Can we please be civil and let this count, and then we'll have public comment? If not, if you cannot be civil, this is a civil meeting, this is a public building, I will have to ask you to leave. Thank you.
Kathy, if I could,
yes.
I want to reiterate to you, I was not asking the committee to take a position.
I understand.
I just wanted to
Explain.
make sure you understood what I would be saying if you didn't,
Right.
okay? And you don't have to take a position.
I recommend we not take a vote, and we leave it in the hands of the town council.
I agree with that, otherwise I'm abstaining.
Well, I wish we would have had an opportunity for me to say what I just said before you spent $1 million on a piece of property. We did not find out. Last meeting we had, I think Roger came in and mentioned that we have something going that he couldn't tell us the exact details of for good reason, because it's when town decides to buy something, everybody wants to jack up the price, and they kind of have to keep that down. However, all these concerns should have been brought up before they, railroad this through based on a deadline for a grant. All of a sudden, it was an emergency. This property's been on the market for I don't know how many years. And all of a sudden, it had to be an emergency that had to be done right then, and nobody even knew until the last meeting. They said, oh, we're closing on it on the Thursday meeting. Mayor Murphy asked, well, when are we purchasing the property? And the town manager said, we're closing on it this afternoon.
Hold on, Sam. Do we have a second for this?
Oh, was there a motion on the floor?
Did you make a motion?
I would make a motion. I move that we not make any recommendation at all, that we leave it in the hands of the town council.
Allow a second.
Discussion. You've discussed. Greg, do you have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
With a footnote.
with a footnote?
Footnote.
All right.
Or maybe they could listen to our,
The meeting is Monday, is that correct, Roxanne? Okay.
this coming Monday. And in addition to them, you reporting that, maybe you could report that we reiterated the same thing that we've reiterated, in case they're not watching, for the last 12 meetings. At least.
Well, I will try to be at the meeting, and I suggest some of the rest of us are there, if
And there will be
possible.
public comment at that meeting, again.
Now we can have public comment.
Civilly. I apologize for your name.
Larry Abramoff, once again. Thank you for the service you provide members here to the community. I know sometimes it can be thankless. Spent 10 years unpaid on the zoning board of Worcester, Massachusetts, the second largest city in New England. So I think at least I can relate to where you are. My head is exploding over this. It's exploding. I want to make a couple of other comments. Number one, there's nobody here. We're boaters, by the way. I just took a 977-mile trip down the Intracoastal Waterway at 8 miles an hour. So I know what it's like to use facilities in various towns and cities quite a bit. We're not against the mooring field. There's nobody here against the mooring field. We're for clean waters. We're for all the good things that happen when you have a place for a boater to tie up. And I want to, we're certainly not for putting toilets in our backyard. And I have to say a great thank you to Mike, Sam, and Bob. He's not here. You please pass along that, for the frankness that you address this issue. It can't be easy. And it must be frustrating to be in your seat to be not listened to, because that's what we feel like. We're not being listened to, and you can see my head is exploding just from that feeling. So I just, it's very obviously very emotional, and I'm a businessman. I'm not supposed to have this emotion. I'm supposed to be facts and figures, numbers, dollars and cents. I'd say, Sam, you're right, we're not deep pockets, but the people here represent $40 million in real estate, and we're gonna fight to protect that the last penny I have in my pocket, I'll fight to protect that. And furthermore, I'm not just protecting my $1 million in real estate or whatever the hell it's worth, because I don't want to sell it. I want to live here. I love living here. I love sitting on my dock. I love sitting in my backyard. I love going to bed at night with my slider open and the screens showing the canal. I love hearing the birds diving in there, the pelicans. I love the manatees. I love the dolphins. I love the life I have here, and we are not going to let that go easily. This does not make sense. No dollars and cents especially. It's nuts. You should vote now. This is my recommendation. This is what I can ask you all to do today. Vote now to say you are against it. Not just that you're not going to support it. Vote now that you're going to against it. And the other thing is, show up on Monday. We need you. The island needs you. A $3 million grant is crap. It's still our tax dollars. It's still the money that I paid out of my pocket that went to some government in the United States of America to fund this, to fund something that's going to ruin our lives.
Wrap it up.
I'm wrapping it up. Thank you for your time. And I'm sorry for my anger, but it's passion, and it's passion for life that you all know and understand. Thanks.
Thanks for coming.
Stop. You got to get to the mic and say your name, please.
Sylvia Lucas. It seems to me that right now, one thing that I see many people, including on the council and here, agree on, that things seem to be rushed, that there's still a lot of unanswered questions, and it's all hinging on, you have to do it now, you have to do it now for a grant, which they clarified is available annually. So why do we have to rush? Let's just do it next year and find a better spot for it. Because I have a concern that if it goes through and we apply for the grant, that it's based upon what we're submitting, which is this location. And Roger said something to the effect that, well, we probably could change the location and we probably wouldn't lose. Instead of going through all of that, wait another flipping year. It's been 3 years already. What's one more year? I mean, the building's not going up instantaneously. That's all. That's just my comment. Thank you.
George Cormos. I believe you're making a mistake by the way you're voting here. I believe this grant is tied into maritime. It has to do with this facility on that property. I believe you could make a vote that would say you don't recommend to use this property and you don't recommend to use the grant if that's why they're doing it. You don't have to vote for the grant. You know, it's all tied together, I believe. And I don't know, the whole thing's a big problem here. And it seems like City Council is pushing this through, and the mayor and the town manager have actually been lying to us for quite a while. And I don't mind saying that. We all know it. So this thing needs to die. It is a bad idea. All the way. It just start is a bad idea, and financially it's a disaster. We're going to lose $300-some thousand in operating costs every year. I can prove it. Anybody can write a business plan, but nobody did. This is crazy. So that's all I have to say, I guess.
Marty White, lifelong resident, Fort Myers Beach. You know, I appreciate Mike, Sam, and Bob for caring. It means a lot to everybody here. The vote should have been taken, and it should have been a no. Town council apparently You know, I was told that they weren't even aware and never had a discussion about any of this at the meeting when I showed up, the last meeting that I was at. It's hard to believe, but that points directly at the town of Fort Myers Beach, and apparently the town manager that has been pushing this agenda. It's wrong, it's deceitful, it's not in the sunshine, and you know, common sense dictates a facility, upland facility, to be bayfront, preferably commercial. The town of Fort Myers Beach has 3 bayfront facilities that I know of. They shot down the one here, I just heard today, with a public dock instead of a dinghy dock. So they shut that down so there wouldn't be upland access to the condominiums that are available right down there at Snug Harbor, where they were going to originally put facilities, let alone right there where they're doing damage and creating something new that could have been this dinghy dock in the proper location. So, you know, there's Bowditch Point and there's the Mound House, all bayfront owned facilities. For this to come down a residential canal, the way that this property was bought, the way this action was taken against Fort Myers Beach citizens, it's unbelievable. And I say that there are consequences to this for town council and for the town of Fort Myers Beach. Thank you.
Gloria Abramoff, if there is a way to rescind your earlier decision to not vote on this, I can't agree more strongly with the idea that, yes, this is not some amorphous grant. This is a very specific grant that's being applied for, and it is tied directly to placing this facility in possibly the historically most inappropriate location. If anyone can name other facilities like this at the end of residential canals, you should sure tell me about them, because when I try to tell people that this is what's being planned, and they say, well, you must mean, you know, at the beginning of the canal, because who would ever place one at the terminus of a canal, of a residential canal? It's nonsensical. If you could rescind that vote and rethink it, because it is important, because the counselor will be taking back otherwise an erroneous report to council, as if none of this happened, as if none of us spoke, as if none of you spoke. It's not right.
Good morning. My name is Star Sherwood, and I am a resident on Tropical Shoreway. For those of you who are maybe on the fence about this, as you can see, we're all very passionate. I urge you, if you have not, actually, I know Sam said that he has, if you haven't gotten out of your office and walked down Tropical Shoreway, we invite you to come. We all live there. Come to our backyards. Come and hang out with us. See what we see. And maybe you'll understand why we do not want this. So if you have not done that and you are not aware of what we are going to be giving up, you are welcome. You're welcome to. So please, we urge you not to vote on this. Thank you.
Tim Quinton, my wife and I are permanent residents at the end of Tropical Shores, and I'd like to just echo what was said by the last 2 speakers. Your vote not to recommend against the grant seems to me like it is a vote for this project, because it looks as if the town council is going to move forward with this project if they got this grant, or they're required to move forward with this project if they get the grant.
No, they are not.
The grant does not have to be used for this project?
We could turn down the money. You do not have to take a grant.
Why would you apply, though, if you're not going to use the grant?
We can't get into a discussion. My apologies.
Okay. But
We don't discuss during public comment, but she may make a comment after.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
You have one other person.
Well, I think we're done. Oh, okay.
Jean Cormos. George and I have been property owners on Tropical Shores Way for over 27 years, as George said. And Sam, I appreciate your comments. I mean, you get it. And I don't understand why your hands are tied to present this to the council, or why are your hands tied? I don't understand that. We all know that economically, environmentally, and logistically, this is not the place for this dock. And I'm concerned about the safety and the privacy of the residents. So I don't understand why your hands are tied. Can you explain that to me? Okay.
They can't go back and forth during public comment. No.
I'm sorry. Okay, I thought I could just ask the question, but he will.
You can,
Okay,
yeah, you can ask.
I appreciate it. I really appreciate you listening. Thank you.
I leave, you can't vote.
Any other public comment?
Next meeting is April
4/20.
4/20. Same agenda. Is there a motion to? Do
Motion
you have
adjourned?
Do you have a comment?
Was there any comment? Did you want to clarify something, Roxanne?
Well, people get up and they say things that aren't true, and I apologize that I spoke because I shouldn't have done that. But when you apply for a grant, if it's awarded to you, you don't even have to accept it. So when someone says, if you win the grant, you must use it, that's just not true. I think it's likely that it would be used, but I just want, for the record, to be clear that just because you win a grant doesn't mean that you must use it. So just for clarification of facts.
And one last thing, I didn't divulge this information, but Larry did email me a list of other locations that the group had identified, and we had reviewed those over time. I know the gentleman mentioned Bowditch. That's a county property, that's not a town-owned property, but we did reach out to them and try to entertain this notion, but I just wanted to be clear that there has been communications between the group and staff of other potential sites that they presented.
And Bay Oaks. But can I just I'm not making I just want to clarify that we're an advisory committee. We have we are a non-binding opinion committee, basically.
Yes. Motion to adjourn?
Sam Lurie, I move to adjourn.
Greg Holmes, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Gotta run.